good, everybody? It's your boy, the Kryptonian Saiyan here, bringing you a review for One Piece Chapter 59. Now, before I get into this chapter, I want to cover really briefly the battle for supremacy with Buggy's crew. If you don't know what I'm talking about for the chapter cover page. And for the chapter cover page, we see Richie the lion. For those of you who don't remember, Richie is the lion that belongs to Mohiji. And basically, after the battle's over, after they fight for like 12 hours, Richie is sleepwalking. He takes out Kabaji and Mohiji. Kind of funny. I mean, it's a little comical, man. So does that mean Richie is now like the leader of, the leader of Buggy's crew? Or at least until Buggy comes back. Buggy's floating around, so obviously he's gonna reunite with his crew. And they've got, Buggy's, body parts, so obviously he's going to reconnect some kind of way. Now, moving into this chapter, man, this chapter was pretty interesting. And the reason why I feel like that is this. We see Sanji is really indebted to the fact that the old man ate his foot. And that's why he is so dead set on, not letting somebody starve and how he feels about the food. I mean, everything makes sense now. I mean, I made the connection while I was reading it, but just to hear the other characters acknowledge it's really nice because it shows how strong that bond is. And when people see the backstory, everything kind of clicks into the surface. And you can apply that to real life because in real life, you don't know everybody's circumstances. Sometimes the quiet people are quiet because they're finding ways to deal with their suffering. The people who are smiling because it's their way of dealing with their pain. And in this case, you have an old man and a younger dude kind of going back and forth, and you're thinking that there's some resentment, animosity, tension, whatever word you want to use. And in reality, they care about each other because they've been through a lot. And just to give you an example, like in my own real life, like my sister and I, to the outside world, they will look at us and say, man, you guys sure do fuss and fight. And, some of the family even say you guys fight like a married couple and everything. And it's only because we care about each other. And that's our way of kind of communicating, but it's not always like that. And I'm willing to bet that, Sanji and the old man, like they have moments where they talk and they connect because that's just human nature. You seek out those types of people, and when you form those bonds, it's almost like learning another language. And what I mean by learning another language, like the people who aren't familiar with it, it takes them time to understand it. So just to see those two get to this point, oh, this was really beautiful right here. I love this. I know some of you guys said that it's censored in the anime. I don't really care about that, because at this point it's such a beautiful backstory. I can overlook if some of this was censored because it was some pretty graphic stuff. I mean, old boy ate his foot. What you expect, man? They're not gonna show that on TV. But this is the thing. Sanji is standing up, and you can tell that Pearl's really done a number on him. And there's this one shot where Pearl actually sends Sanji flying. He hits him with a pretty tough attack. And I thought just right here, it was pretty big because you can tell just from the way that he's hit that it's a pretty devastating blow. But right here, if you look, where's Sanji looking at? He's looking to make sure that old boy is okay. And I thought that was huge, and you can see right there on the panel, and you don't see his eyes, that he knows that Sanji is holding back. And if you'll look, you see Luffy. Luffy, I'm not the biggest Luffy fan, but I will give him this. He is perceptive. And right there, if he really did think to shatter the ship's fin, that if that's his plan in order to get Gin to kind of come out, then he really is a genius. I don't think it's the case. I think he was more fed up than anything else. But just that amount of destructive force, this is pretty impressive right here. I wasn't really expecting Luffy to be able to pull something like that off, man. So, props to Luffy for that. But, the other thing about this is, Luffy, I don't know if it's because he's planning on recruiting Sanji to his team or not, but Luffy is showing like a lot of compassion for somebody he just met. And just as us as people, it's really hard to empathize with somebody that you don't know, let alone feel sympathy for them. And just watching how he gets worked up over this says a lot about him. And just as a leader, anytime you're in a leadership position, you know, it's really a burden because you have to take into consideration everybody else's thoughts and feelings and how they get affected. And as somebody like me, you know, I like to say I'm like an emotional sponge. You put me in a room full of people and I just soak up the emotion. And I feel like that's what Luffy's doing at this point. And for him, in order for him to grow as a leader, he's going to have to learn how to kind of check that off. You know, in this case, it pays off because he does get Gin to kind of come out and he's able to use his emotion to get through to Sanji. Like right here, this is pretty good. You know, like right after telling Sanji, look, man, you know, if I sink this ship, they won't have a prize. You know, Sanji tells him, like, look, you can never understand what this ship means to me. And then that's when Luffy grabs him. And if you just look at this shot, like the emotion that's in it, you know, he's saying getting killed is no way to repay your debts. He didn't save your life so you could throw it away. Only a coward would do that. And right here, if you can just look at that, again, you see like the parallel with Shanks, but you see Sanji right there. You can tell that it's hitting him, and if you just look at how Oda has positioned everything, it almost looks like Sanji is looking at Zeff. Not Zeff, looking at Shanks. And it's really, really fitting because I told you guys before, I saw like a little bit of a parallel. And just for him to position the panels like that, I think that is huge, man. And I think just kind of going forward, I could see a lot of room for these two because they do have similar circumstances while different. And I can appreciate the different part. You know, I've said before, the writer in me would want to make those parallels a little more obvious, but you don't want to fall into the trap of doing that. So I can overlook it. But this was really nice, man. And just getting into it, the revelation that Gin is actually the battle commander of the pirate armada, that's pretty nice, man. And just to kind of close out this arc, to have him say, well, I'm indebted to Sanji, I owe him my life, and it's only fitting that I'm the one who takes him out. Everything's kind of coming full circle. I can really appreciate that. So I'm going to end the review off with that. My chapter question for you guys is going to be, what did you think about Luffy's decision to sink the ship? Did you think it was smart? Or do you think that he just kind of lucked up? You know, I'm leaning more towards the other side. I think that he just got caught up in the moment. But you let me know what you think in the comment section below. But as always, if you liked anything I had to say, make sure you comment, rate, subscribe, and share. I'll greatly appreciate it. But that's it. Thanks for watching, Kryptonian.